Hello there friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. There will be spoilers in this video from The Acolyte, episode 5. Well, they finally done it, boys. They've killed Star Wars. I think I'm gonna be done talking about Star Wars now. Okay, let's talk more about Star Wars. There's controversy out right now about the reveal of the Dark Master in The Acolyte. And no, it wasn't the Zabrak mother, it wasn't Vanessa Rowe, it wasn't even Kathleen Kennedy. It was fucking Jason Mendoza from The Good Place.
Jianyu is not a Taiwanese monk, but rather someone named Jason Mendoza, a failed DJ from Jacksonville, Florida.
I wasn't a failed DJ, I was pre-successful.
I mean, this is a completely unhinged casting choice. You know, The Acolyte has its problems, but, you know, other than the casting of maybe Osha and May, they've been pretty good. I mean, Squid Game's Lee Jung-jae, considering Master Soul's downward trending character arc, is the perfect choice. Daphne Keane and Charlie Barnett were great. Jodie Turner-Smith just oozes character. You stay away from my child, you witch. And Manny Jacinto as this chaotic Sith, well, dark side master, well, that's a really bold move. Because, you know, like Star Wars fans, we love this franchise so much that sometimes it becomes problematic. I mean, it gets problematic for new things to happen. You know, we fall into the nostalgia of the old things that we really like, and we can become very closed-minded to new things. But The Acolyte, warts and all, manages to do new things that are actually interesting and quite risky and bold. I mean, there are literally no callbacks in the show, no legacy characters. This thing is less connected to Star Wars than Andor was. Well, actually, there is Ki-Adi-Mundi, the only Jedi in Star Wars history to use his religious beliefs to avoid paying child support. It be an attachment. But yeah, having this Joker portray the main antagonist is hilarious.
Every day you teach me something new about art and history and why I shouldn't eat everything that smells good, because sometimes it's candles.
Just play the full scene, Kanga.
You're basically like a hot genius teacher who sometimes has sex with me, your student. That used to happen a lot at Leonard Skinner High School, but this time you won't be arrested.
You know, Jason Mendoza in A Good Place is just this character with a lot of heart, but to be able to see the dark side of that character is kind of genius. Because in a lot of ways, Kirmer plays a darker version of that character. I mean, he's not serious, he's not threatening on screen, but the hiding in plain sight, the overacting, that's exactly what Ian McDiarmid did in the prequels with Darth Sidious, aka Sheev Palpatine. Albeit Manny Jacinto has his own twist on, you know, the Sith puppeteer role. And it's fresh, it's new, but it also feels just right. And that is not easy to do. Now, we on this channel kind of called out that Kirmer was the Dark Master in the first week of the show. You know, when you throw enough porgs at a force field, some of them will stick, or, you know, something like that. We'll talk more about why it was kind of obvious that Kirmer is a Sith Lord later on in this video, when we get to the meat of it. Now, there's been some controversy recently with fans because Kirmer basically says he's a Sith. Well, actually, he doesn't say that. He says this. It's worded very specifically.
I have no name. But a Jedi like you might call me Sith.
I mean, guys, Kirmer has been literally screwing around with everyone in the show up until now. This show is full of twists and you know, plot turns, unexpected things. Kirmer's been lying to us since the first time we saw him, and now we're just gonna take him at his word. I don't know, I feel like people are jumping the gun on this, and even if he is a Sith, this is not lore breaking. If anything, it's lore enhancing, especially with the inclusion of Ki-Adi-Mundi in the show. You guys remember what he said in The Phantom Menace, right?
My only conclusion can be that it was a Sith Lord.
Impossible. The Sith have been extinct for a millennium.
So it's widespread knowledge that the Sith had vanished, you know, for centuries before the prequels, but it doesn't mean the Jedi know what they're talking about or have this right. I mean, they have no idea that the Supreme Chancellor next door, that they work alongside for like a decade, is a Sith Lord. So you're just gonna take Ki-Adi-Mundi's word for it? I mean, he's the guy who said this brilliant line too.
I think the Count Dooku was behind it.
He is a political idealist, not a murderer.
So if Ki-Adi's word is the lore, is it lore breaking for Count Dooku to be a murderer and a political idealist? Also, Ki-Adi-Mundi rhymes with Crocodile Dundee. Food for thought. But anyway, the Acolyte kind of solves this whole entire controversy by including Ki-Adi-Mundi in the show. Yes, they changed his species age in Legends. I don't think there was a canon age. There might have been. Even if there is one, guys, Like, at best, this is like a 2 out of 10 when it comes to how outraged we should be. It's really not that big of a deal, guys. Come on. What is a big deal is that people were sending death threats to the admins on Wikipedia over, someone updating Ki-Adi-Mundi's age to reflect the Acolyte, which, by the way, happens every time Disney comes out with a new show. I mean, those admins are like freaking, election poll workers. They're the sweetest, most gentle, selfless people in the world who probably have a little too much time on their hands, let's be honest. But yeah, those Wikipedia nerds volunteer their time and literally preserve knowledge for the rest of us for free. And their articles are more detailed and better researched than most of the stuff us YouTubers pump out. You know who sends out death threats to people because they don't like something? Psychopath terrorists. In that case, those guys are on a jihad. I mean, what are these guys on there? They don't like Disney? Like, dude, it's so cringy, man. Like, anyway, the fact that Ki-Adi-Mundi is actually in Vanessa Rowe's sketchy working group here in the Jedi Order that is trying to keep this whole assassination thing under wraps and away from the High Council is kind of low-key brilliant. It's like reverse lore shenanigans.
We must alert the High Council.
The High Council would be obliged to inform the Senate. A scandal like this would inspire fear and mistrust.
This means that if Kirmer is in fact the Sith and Master Soul makes it to Ki-Adi-Mundi or Vanessa Rowe with this information, that the Jedi are covering up the fact that the Sith have emerged, endangering their order, endangering the entire galaxy, so that they can preserve their power in the Senate. I really like that. Granted, I'm also the guy who, shits on the institution of the Jedi Order all the time. I understand. I'm a little biased about this, so obviously I would like this lore point, but at least I'm consistent, guys. But yeah, I mean, this is a full-on conspiracy if this is true. I love this kind of stuff. Who wants to see a bunch of wooden Jedi acting all holier than thou? I want to see power corrupt. I want to see what happens to an organization that's given dangerous weapons who have remained unchecked for centuries. I mean, what do you think is going to happen? Conflict creates interesting stories. And when conflicts emerge in an organization like the Jedi Order, you're going to find out which one of these dudes are just Jedi robes, working for the man, and which one of these Jedi truly stand for something bigger and better. I've always said, I like individual Jedi, just not the institutions. And these are the moments where people stand out, I think. But yeah, back to Kirmer. Is he actually a Sith or is he just pulling our leg here? Well, let's break down what we see on screen. Let's see what supports this idea and what kind of goes against it. First of all, we figured out the whole Kirmer is a Sith thing along with the rest of the internet because of this dialogue with May in the Apothecary. I mean, his whole demeanor was also very slimy, but it was this line here that made it very clear.
The Jedi justify their galactic dominance in the name of peace. And peace
is a lie, I know.
It's like Michael Keaton and the other guys.
Don't go chasing waterfalls. Was that accidental or were you trying to quote TLC on purpose?
Keaton can't help himself because he loves TLC, and Kirmer can't help himself because he loves repeating the Sith code to people.
And peace
is a lie, I know.
And judging by May's reaction, it's clear he tells this to her all the time. Like a father to a daughter, like a master to an apprentice, or an apprentice to an acolyte. And this isn't the only time that Kirmer is ideological. That's a big deal because there are a lot of dark side force groups in the galaxy, and most of them are not politically ideological like the Sith are. And the Sith specifically are ideologically driven in their hatred of the Jedi. These aren't just some weekend protesters who like setting, storefronts and dumpsters on fire. The Sith like to plot and plan. They are extremely dangerous. They strike from the shadows, and they usually leave the Jedi confused and bloodied. I mean, this is why the Jedi treat the Sith the way they do. I mean, the Witches' Coven, the witches on Dathomir, are technically considered practitioners of the dark side of the Force, but the Jedi don't try to kill them at first sight like they do the Sith. As a matter of fact, they usually have relatively cordial conversations with them.
Mother Talzin, thank you for your hospitality.
I believe you have a question for me.
Yes, you're right. We've had reports of a Dathomiri male on the loose. He's already killed 2 Jedi.
The Jedi tried to kill the Sith, like how Mace Windu tried to kill Palpatine, because the Sith are vicious animals who really want to kill the Jedi, and that's just how it works, man. The Dark Jedi are a bit less single-minded, less determined to kill. They're dark side curious, I guess you could say. I mean, a lot of Dark Jedi, guys like Quinlan Vos, Barriss Offee, Asajj Ventress, Kylo Ren, even Revan and Dooku before they went full Sith, they still had some redeemable qualities about them. Dooku went to the dark side for some, pretty legitimate reasons. And a lot of Dark Jedi, well, they feel conflicted about their choices. They're not completely ready to embrace the dark side fully. This is why they can't really create Sith lightning, and they lack the power of the true Sith. You see, being a Sith is not just a label and organization you join. It's a lifestyle, it's a mindset. And no, you don't have to have yellow eyes. What you have to be is a truly evil scumbag in order to unlock the secrets of how they connect to the Force. This is why I see a lot of apprentices and assassins of Sith talking about how they want their masters to turn them into full Sith, because they aren't. In general, Dark Jedi were also focused on lesser material things like making money, becoming powerful in society. The Sith, on the other hand, are dogmatic, but in a very chaotic way. They follow the code, and they have a grand plan they're trying to follow.
What do you want?
Freedom. The freedom to wield my power the way I like, without having to answer to Jedi like you.
That might not be something in the Sith code, but it kind of references the Sith code because, the Sith are all about their supposed freedom, breaking the chains. They think that the Jedi are what's holding them back, when in reality, their anger makes them a slave to their emotions. Kirmer would know all of this because true Sith know the history of the Jedi and how the first Sith were simply dark Jedi, driven out of the Order because of their dark side curiosity. They tried to live in peace, but they were hunted and exterminated until they too were forced to band together and create an ideology that could survive the death of the individuals in the Order. Or at least that's how the Sith would explain it. Plus, if you guys take a look at our 20-minute breakdown of Episode 5's lightsaber duels, Kirmer isn't just a dark Jedi swordsman, he's using Sith techniques like Form 7 Juyo. Only Sith Lords know that variant of Form 7. The entire style involves feeding on the fear and anger of one's surroundings. And if a Jedi happens to be surrounding them, well, it disconnects them from their more peaceful connection to the Force. It makes unprepared Jedi disoriented and clumsy. And this is how Palpatine killed all of those Jedi in his office within just 5 seconds. This is also how Kirmer kills so many Jedi in the woods. Look at how they all flail in confusion. And then let's take a look at how Kirmer just plays with Soul's mind here. In Episode 5, Soul starts out this duel composed using a more basic Form 1 style, but Kirmer just starts surgically ripping Soul's calmness apart with one line after another.
What master hides his face from his pupil?
You tell me.
She was a child.
You brought her here.
His mind is twisted by darkness.
I've accepted my darkness.
What have you done with yours?
And by the end of all of these mind games, which is a classic Sith trick, Soul has ditched his lightsaber and switched to pummeling Kirmer in the face with his fist. I mean, the Jedi Master is clearly unsettled and uncomposed, and now that I think about it, I feel like Kirmer might even have spared Soul for a reason. And remember what he says to May in the first episode.
If you attack a Jedi with a weapon, you will fail. An Acolyte kills without a weapon. An Acolyte kills the dream.
This is exactly the kind of mindset that the Rule of Two Sith would have adopted. Waiting in the shadows, carefully planning things to make sure that when they do carry out their plan to destroy the Jedi, that everything goes perfectly. Kirmer doesn't want to kill Soul because Soul is clearly a part of some horrific Jedi mistake. Something terribly went down on Brendok. Maybe the Jedi set that fortress on fire or used controlled explosives. I don't know, but it clearly made Torben kill himself. And so Kirmer doesn't want Soul to die a hero, a martyr, at the hands of some dark side maniac. He wants the galaxy to see what the Jedi actually are. He wants to kill the dream. He wants to kill the Jedi without a weapon. I mean, guys, this is very Sith-like. The guy fights like a Sith, he plots like a Sith, he thinks like a Sith. I mean, he even has a rare Cortosis helmet embrace. Some of you guys pointed out that in the Darth Plagueis novel, right before Darth Plagueis takes Tenebrous' life, they're actually in a Cortosis mine that they just bought. So this is a rare material, it's not easy to work with, and now in the canon, Cortosis is intimately connected with the Sith. There's a lot of things pointing towards one thing here, guys, that Kirmer is a Sith. Now, I do have to say, Kirmer doesn't seem like the most skilled lightsaber fighter. We talked about this in length in our breakdown of the fight in the last episode. Kirmer likes using tricks like Cortosis. He creates fear in the Jedi ranks, and he takes advantage of their inexperience. While he slaughters all of the, brown robes that don't have names, he doesn't do so well against Jeki and Master Soul, which seems to point out that, he might not be a Sith Master. Maybe he is an apprentice who's looking for an Acolyte, because a Master would be looking for an apprentice, right? An Acolyte is clearly a more expendable position. And look, I saw a few comments about how, like, this all spits in the face of Darth Plagueis and the lore, but guys, like, I feel like when people say that stuff is disingenuous. I really do. Like, maybe I'm being a little too much about this, you know. It's just tiring when you're just trying to simply cover a show and you just constantly get heat for just talking about something like it's illegal or something, you know, like fucking thought police, right? But if you guys know the lore about Darth Plagueis, he didn't believe in the rule of two. He broke the rule of two. He thought it was stupid, like most Sith Lords. I mean, his own master Tenebris went around his back and had a second apprentice out of wedlock. Another bit called Venomous. The Sith don't follow their own rules because they're chaotic, so like they're the first ones breaking the lore or something. I don't even know anymore. Why are we even arguing about this kind of stuff? Lastly, I want to show this scene where Kirmer runs into Osha at the end.
Even in the revelation of our triumph, you see the depth of our despair.
First of all, does he heal Osha here? Like, my Disney Plus resolution is terrible. Like, how do you get 4K Disney Plus shows? Is that not a thing? But yeah, force healing is generally a light side move if he did this. Then he talks about like despair in his moment of triumph, which means he has a conscience. Which makes you think that maybe May and Kirmer planned this whole crazy situation all along to, you know, get her into the Order and do this kind of switch with her twin. Or maybe May realizes the only way to win back her master's favor here is getting rid of Soul so he can't reveal Kirmer's identity to the Order. You know, this is where the critics of the show might be right. I mean, the May and Osha stuff has been dragging on for a long time, and I mean, clearly I'm going to watch it until the end and figure out what is going on, but everything is confusing me right now. Like, I've lost track of everything. I got to think about this a little more because, like, I have to say, like, figuring out that Kirmer was the Sith Lord was a little too obvious. I said it in my video where I talked about it. I was like, if this comes true, I'm going to be a little sad because it's almost too predictable. And, you know, Star Wars shows usually aren't like that because, one, they're not well thought out enough for crazy YouTube theories to actually be right, because we tend to dig. We tend to dig in things and connect things that aren't there, you know, like, this is not so different from real life conspiracy theories, you understand, except this is more harmless. But yeah, the fact that Kirmer actually turned into a Sith, it might be a misleading thing that they're doing here. It seems like Leslie Headland understands kind of just how fascinated the fans are with stuff like this, and this could be just one giant mislead. But yeah, this scene really made me question if Kirmer was a Sith or perhaps just a dark Jedi who is motivated by something else. You know, maybe Kirmer read the Wikipedia page on the Sith and is just trying to mimic their way of doing things. Although he can't really mimic fighting styles, although he's kind of clumsy. You see me, I'm all twisted right now. But yeah, maybe he's mimicking the Sith to make the Jedi do something stupid, to have them overreact. Because I'm sure a lot of people are ideologically pissed at the Jedi. It's not just the Sith. They're going to be ordinary, regular criminals who just don't like them. And they also clearly did something really shady on Brundok, and they're trying to cover it up. Ultimately, we might not even get answers about Kirmer being a Sith or not until the very end. Or maybe they'll just leave it open-ended, you know, who knows. But yeah, ultimately, this Ki Mundi Age controversy, this Kirmer being a Sith controversy, this is all manufactured outrage. In the end, it makes Star Wars fans look extremely stupid, you know? Like, people are laughing at this, because it's so nonsensical. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know what you think in the comment section below about Kirmer. Is he a Sith? Is he not? Are we being misled to be misled? It's interesting. I want to see the rest of this show now. I hope you guys do as well. Well, don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification button down below so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content. As usual, my name is Alan, reminding you that my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy. See you next time.